Hello, I am Gently ASMR, and I am back today after a little bit of a break because I have had quite the cold for the last few days. Unfortunately, I am now on the mend. So I thought that because of the time of year that it is, and also with the COVID spike that's presently happening, I'm sure a lot of you might not be feeling so well yourself. So today I'm here to give a few tips on how to feel better when you're sick with a mild illness. This is only for instances where you feel well enough that you don't think you need professional medical attention. So, if you're having things like extreme pain or trouble breathing or chest pains, please seek a medical professional instead of trying to treat it yourself, okay? The most important part of self-care is recognizing when you need help. So, with that out of the way, let me get started discussing what I do to feel better when I am ill. So, I think it's pretty important to monitor your temperature when you have a fever, because it's a good indication of where your body is currently at in regards to fighting the infection. Now, I am of the opinion that a fever is not something that you necessarily have to get rid of immediately if you notice it, because a fever serves an important purpose in your body, which is making it inhospitable for the infection. So, I would recommend taking medicine to reduce fever only if it gets very high or you are very uncomfortable because of the fever symptoms. So, let's take a look at what I currently am. Fever has gone down appreciably from the past few days. For a long time, it was over 100, which was obnoxious. So if you take your temperature and you have a fever, that's one good indication that you need to take some time to rest. So, moving on to another important part of sickness management. It is just the worst when you have a stuffy nose and all you have are paper towels and toilet paper, because that just gets so rough on your skin after a while. So it's good to have some extra tissues on hand for the times when you're a little more stuffed up. Fortunately, I'm a lot less congested than I was the last few days, so I'm actually able to record because because I was definitely way too stuffy for a little while. I personally prefer puffs tissues because I think they are extra gentle on the nose. Something that I think is an underrated supporting component to tissues are some balm to soothe the skin beneath your nose. Because I don't know about you, but once I blow my nose a whole bunch of times, the skin between my nose and mouth becomes very chapped. And my preferred solution to this is Mentholatum. It looks like this. It smells very strongly of menthol. It's this very nostalgic scent for me. Some people are nostalgic for Vicks Vapor Rub. I'm nostalgic for Mentholatum. But I like this stuff because it soothes that chapped skin, and also that strong menthol smell kind of makes your sinuses clear out for a little bit. Okay, the next item that I use to help myself feel better is a humidifier. This is a cool mist humidifier. Let me switch it on. Let's enjoy some mist for a second. It really makes a world of difference. Breathing in more humid air versus the typical dry winter air, because that extra bit of moisture really helps out your nose quite a bit as far as preventing it from drying out when you're doing all that nose blowing into tissues. So it makes the air a lot more tolerable when you're sick. So I would definitely recommend picking up a cool mist humidifier. If you don't have one or can't afford one, sitting in the bath or shower with the door closed so the steam can build up can have a similar effect. Let me just shut this off. And go on to my next item. Next up in my feel better protocol is food and drink. It's very important to have the proper nutrition when you're trying to feel better, because it takes a lot longer to heal if your body has to rely on itself for fuel instead of healthy food. become even more important on days that I am, because it's just an easy way to consume a lot of vegetables and nutrients in one sitting without too much effort. I personally think eating when I'm sick is kind of a challenge, so it helps me to sort of drink my foods in smoothies and soups. And another thing that I do is I have here are hot drinks. Of course, it's good to have both hot and cold drinks. Any hydration is important when you're sick. So I'm going to boil some water with this electric kettle and make some tea. The tea that I will be making today is peppermint. I personally really like mint flavors when I'm not feeling so well, especially if I'm congested, because I just feel like that sort of sharp scent is pretty refreshing, and it feels like you're more opened up when you're done. So why don't I open up this box and look inside? Doesn't seem like the bag wants to be open in the box. And here are tea bags. They're connected to each other in sets of two, like this. Which is just perfect because I generally take 2 tea bags with a normal sized mug. The electric kettle has a couple phases, this being the loudest one. I'm going to put my tea bags, my paper, and set it aside and wait for the water to finish boiling. And speaking of boiling water, that leads me to my next item that I used to feel better from sleep, which is the Neti pot. The Neti pot is used to clean your sinuses with warm water. by putting water through one nostril and out the other. The thing about the neti pot is that it's something that you kind of have to take seriously, because being lax with the safety preparations can be a big problem with the neti pot because of how close to your brain that your sinuses are. So please follow every safety precaution, which means if you're using tap water, you need to boil it first and then let it cool down to lukewarm. It can be used for up to 1 hour after you boil it. Otherwise, using purified bottled water is another option. But please protect yourself from infection and make sure the water that you are using is clean. So, when you have clean water, you open up one of these packets of saline solution and you pour it into your lukewarm water and mix. The key to using a neti pot without it being uncomfortable, I personally believe, is temperature. If it's too hot, it's going to hurt. If it's too cold, it's going to hurt. But if it's in the middle, and sort of, there goes the tea, water. But if it's kind of in that middle Goldilocks zone, you probably won't have any issues with discomfort. I'm not going to demonstrate this on the video because gross. Now that I have freshly boiled water, I'll just pour it in. Now, I just need to let this brew for a moment. I personally take my tea with just a little bit of sweetener. Honey is preferable, but pretty much any sweetener available, I'll just add a little dash. So, any water, any way you consume it, is good when you have a cold. Hot or cold, your body needs the hydration. So, get it in wherever you can manage. This tea is very, very hot, so I think I will go on to my next portion before I sip this. So, the next thing that I recommend And I'm gonna go through a few really gentle exercises that you can do for when you're feeling too lousy to get out of bed. Generally, when you're feeling really bad, it's best to stretch, leave the aerobics until you're on the mend. So, here are a few stretches that I do. Begin by lying flat on your back, and then move the direction of your knees and arms to be facing opposite each other, creating a wide stretch in the torso. And just breathe. And then when you feel ready, move your knees over to the opposite side and your hands as well, and do a twist the opposite way. And just hold the stretch and breathe. That's all you need to do with these exercises. The next exercise that I recommend for when you're feeling lousy is a supported child's pose. This is functionally the same as a normal child's pose, but you have a little pillow supporting your chest so the stretch isn't quite as deep. Try to get your hips as low down to the surface that you're on as possible. The last stretch that I recommend when you're feeling sick is with a pillow supporting your mid-back. Open up your arms, leave them to the side to really open up your chest, and as well as your knees, push your knees apart and bring your feet in a bit, and just let your whole body open up, and just focus on breathing. This is a nice way to clear out a bit of congestion. You might have to blow your nose a bit afterwards or beforehand. But these are some nice, simple stretches for when you don't want to leave your bed. Those stretches gave me just enough time for my tea to cool down. Refreshing and minty. Minty, minty, mint tea. I hope that I was able to impart some useful advice today. And if you're feeling lousy out there like I have been, I hope that you feel better very, very soon. And I hope that some of these tips might set you on course to get feeling better. So, with that, I sincerely hope that you have a very, very